I'll call to order the February 19th, 2015 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Right now, I would like to ask everyone to please stand for the invocation and prayer being given by Councilman Chris Lohr, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance being given by Boy Scout Troops 400, 404, 65, 769th, and the Gonzales Soccer Club children.
Dear Lord, as we gather here before you tonight, we do so with a heavy heart. We ask you to bring comfort to the family, and we pray for the souls of Miss Stephanie Wagespack-Walsh-Shakesnyder, who was taken so suddenly from us, and so soon after her father recently, Higley Wagespack, recently passed, who was a pillar of this community. As that family has just been rocked with tragedy, Lord, we just ask that somehow you provide some measure of peace and comfort to them, some way, somehow. We also ask for the healing of Joey and Reagan McClendon. They were involved in an accident this week, and they are in critical condition, Lord. We just pray for that family and pray for their healing as well. For these and for anyone else who is suffering, in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I need all the scouts to come to the front, and I'd like the children with the soccer club to come up. Y'all can fill the aisle if you want. Scouts, why don't you move on into the center right here. Let's gather up. Thank you. Y'all lead it.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris, for the prayer. And I want to thank all of you guys for coming out. It's great to see people coming up, showing up, care for their community, and getting out and doing some public work. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Please note that Councilman Johnson's working, Councilman Turner's not here. I'll move on to Chair's additions. There's none. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the Secretary, and you'll be given time when that agenda item comes up. Parish President's report. Mr. Martinez is good tonight. Thank you, sir. Chair would entertain a motion for the consent
So moved,
agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Doc Satterley, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. I had two speakers, and I talked to you guys that you wish to yield not to speak, right? Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 7.
Mr. Chairman, if
Sir.
you want to make a comment on explain people that don't know that the soccer complex.
Yeah, just real quick, we have several things on the consent agenda, but one of the things on the consent agenda is the approval that came out of the Recreation Committee for $1.8 million to build a soccer complex at Lamar Dixon, and I think you guys are pretty happy about that tonight, right? Hear, hear. Sir?
You might want to let them know it's approved.
It is approved. It was part of the consent agenda. Before we move on, I want to thank the parish president for working hard at that, and everybody else within the administration, private sector, everybody that's worked hard to get that to a reality. And with that, we have the chairman of the Recreation Committee, Mr. Turner's here. The consent agenda passed, sir.
That's good. That's good news to hear.
Thank you. All right. Thank y'all for coming. We'll move on to agenda item number 7. Committee recommendations. Personnel Committee. First agenda item is 7.1. Tourism Commission. Mr. Lohr.
Thank you, Mr.
your
Chairman.
Committee.
The Personnel Committee met on Monday, February 9th, and had the following recommendations. The first, as you said, was for the Tourism Commission. There was one member that resigned, and there was an open seat. Ms. Ray Milano interviewed for the position, and the Personnel Committee recommended her appointment. There were no other applicants.
Move to
I second it.
appoint Ms. Milano.
We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Malonson. Any opposition? Motion passes.
Item number 2 was the Fire Protection District Number 1. One member had resigned, and there was one new applicant for the position. The Personnel Committee recommended Mr. Cody Reeves.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition?
There was also one applicant who had an expired term. Mr. Brent Smith reapplied for that, and the committee recommended his reappointment.
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Ms. Terry Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Item number 3 was the Industrial Development Board. One member had resigned. There was one new applicant for the position. That was Mr. James LeBlanc, who was recommended by the Personnel Committee. However, legal counsel later found that there was a statute in regards to the, when it was, the IDB was created, that said an elected official or appointee of Ascension Parish could not serve on it, so he had to withdraw. So we're going to reopen the bids.
Yes,
I mean,
he's
I'm
an
sorry,
elected
reopen the,
constable, so he can't serve on that board.
right, because he's a constable. Thank you. So he's going, we're going to reopen the applications for that position. So
Good deal.
we'll move on to item number 4, which was the Fire Protection District Number 3. There were 3 expired terms. All 3 reapplied for their positions. No new applicants were received, so the committee recommended reappointing Mr. Walter Leftwich.
So moved,
Motion.
Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Ms. Cazzo, second by Mr. Brian Malonson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Also recommended reappointing Mr. Jack Harris.
Got that. Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Cazzo,
Second.
second by Mr. Malonson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion
And
passes.
lastly, Ms. Tracy Burns for reappointment.
Motion to
Motion-
approve.
Motion by Ms. Cazzo.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Item number 5 was the Planning and Zoning recommendations. There were 3 expired terms, and all 3 members reapplied. There were no new applicants. The committee recommended the reappointment of Mr. Josh Ori.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Brian Malonson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Mr. Gasper Chafisi.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
And lastly, Mr. Matt Pryor.
So moved.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Cazzo, second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Lohr. We'll move into general business.
Mr. Chairman, real quick,
Yes, sir.
going in. I just want, on the Personnel Committee and the last couple of times, I've been astounded at the qualifications that we've had coming in, and so I just want to let people know that we've had some great people, and continue to keep coming and volunteering, because it's hard to get people on these things. So thank you for all the people that have done that. Just want to make sure they all know that.
Yes, sir. Well noted. Any other comments? We'll move on to agenda item number 8, proclamation. Ordering a special election on Saturday, October 24th, 2015, to fill a vacancy of clerk of court. Parish President Martinez.
Yes, we got a letter from the Secretary of State that said we had to call this election. So that's why we put it on the agenda and asking you to call it, even though it's the same day as the regular election, we have to.
I would entertain a motion. We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
The reason it's special, I see there's some questions, is to fill Hart's unexpired term.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the reason.
I thought they were up the same time as us. That's
No.
all. Okay.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item number 9. Resolution authorizing and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of not to exceed $58,375,000 of revenue funding bonds in one or more series by the Louisiana Local Government and Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, and the loan of the proceeds thereto East Ascension Consolidated Drainage District Number 1 of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana. Bond Counsel, Mr. Malcolm Dugas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. These resolutions were presented to the Drainage Board at its meeting on February 2nd, where they were approved and moved to the council agenda. And now, tonight, the resolutions are presented to the council for the council's consideration.
Motion to
And-
approve the resolution.
Have a motion by Mr. Chris Lord, second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Excuse me, I just need to read the
Yes, sir.
first part of it. It says a resolution authorizing and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of not to exceed $58,375,000 of revenue refunding bonds in one or more series by Louisiana Local Governmental Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, and a loan of the proceeds thereto East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana.
We have that motion.
Motion.
The motion by Mr. Chris Lord, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion?
On discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Mr. Dempsey
you, Mr.
Lambert,
Chairman.
Drainage Chairman.
I'd like to also thank Mr. Dugas, Mr. Ryan, and Mr. Lambert on the findings of this. It's going to be a good savings for the drainage. Also like to thank the parish presidents, everyone working together on this very quickly so we could put this together. So this is going to be a great savings, and thank everyone.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Ms. Cazzo?
Randy, I'd just like Malcolm to clarify for the benefit of the public that this is a refinance.
It is. Every so often, we monitor the bonds that are outstanding to determine whether or not the market is right and the interest rates go down in order to allow a refinance, just as you would do on your home, is either way to explain it. Through Marcus, we have found that now is a good time to do a refinance on both of the series for the Drainage Board. One, the resolution I just read. And as we said at the Drainage Board meeting, the market fluctuates, but once these resolutions are passed, we can start the process. And when it comes time to do the closing, then we can give you, and we'll come back to you with a definitive program that will show you and tell you exactly what the savings will be. But these resolutions just allow us to start that process.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 10. Similar resolution, came out the same committee. Resolution authorizing and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery not to exceed $2,210,000 of public improvement refunding bonds in one or more series by East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana. Mr. Dugas, one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution authorizing and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of not to exceed $2,210,000 of public improvement revenue bonds in one or more series by East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Ms. Cazzo, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dugard, for the public listening out there, follow up to Ms. Castle's comment, could you put a number on how much the refinancing saving we're going to get as a result of both this item 10 and the previous one, 9?
Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Councilman Satterley. Jim Ryan with Government Consultants. As Mr. Dugas indicated, the markets change every day. Currently, right now, we have looked at a number of scenarios with the parish president's guidance. If you simply refunded the 2005 bonds and didn't do anything else to them, your savings would be approximately $42,000 if we could do it today. Keep in mind, as rates go up, the deal gets smaller, the savings get smaller. On the $54 million, or $58 million, not to exceed $58 million Series 2007, again, if we could do it today, we would estimate that we would achieve a savings of about $2.7 million. Some of the options that the administration has talked about and that we all talked about at the Drainage Board meeting was possibly A, simply paying off the 2005 bond because it's a very small bond, there's not much left on it, and B, looking at shortening the maturity on the 2007 bonds to either 30 and/or 25 years. Doing that, if you assume that you simply paid off the 2005 bond, the small one, and you shorten the maturity on the 2007 one to 30 years, your savings would be in the neighborhood of about $5.8 million. If you shortened it to 25 years, your savings would be in the neighborhood of $11 million. But again, I want to stress just for CYA, those are current market numbers as of today. The 10-year note since mid-January has swung from a 167. Today it was at about a 212, 213. It's a very volatile bond market right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Those are substantial numbers, and I just want to be sure the public had a feel for what we were doing there. And I also have appreciations, and I'm sure they do, about the analogy of this is like refinancing your home, because the market is favorable to do that at lower rates. So I wish you good luck and Godspeed, that you get in at the exact moment to save the most money. A little aside, it's unfortunate this money is in the drainage is a dedicated amount, because if Mr. Martinez, we save anywhere from $3 to $5 million, I sure would like to see that go to parish-wide sewer.
I would like to echo what Councilman Dempsey said. I want to thank the council, Cinnamon, and especially the administration for working with us so rapidly on this process. It is not a normal process when you're doing a refunding. You're trying to go as quickly as you possibly can, and so there's a lot of deadlines. We're trying to rush to get to meeting, get everybody up to speed. But thank you all, and thank you the administration for helping us.
Thank you. And Doc, I tell you what, we do save that money, I think Mr. Shakespeare and Ms. Cazzo got some places to put that drainage money.
I'm sure they do, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cazzo.
Yes, and I want to thank you both and the administration for working on this, but particularly I'd like to encourage you to refinance these bonds at a lower number of years. I mean, I think it's very unfortunate to pass this kind of debt on to the next generation. In fact, 30, 40-year debt is like the next generation after that. So please.
That will totally be up to you all, and as Mr. Dugai indicated, as we get closer to the time we actually know what we're going to do, what we anticipate doing is coming back to you all and saying, having a broader range of scenarios. And literally, there are no 5-year magical increments in this. It doesn't have to be 30 years or 25 years or 20 years. Literally, you can sit down and look at your budget and say, just real quick, and I'll go very quick, but like if you did the 25-year scenario, obviously your debt service would actually increase by about $50,000 a year. It would if it's $45,000 a more year to save an additional $8 million over the life of the bonds. So what you can do is we can come back to you all when we get closer to pricing this and saying, okay, we can afford an additional $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year, $15,000 a year, and you can make those bonds 26-year bonds, 27-year bonds, 28-year bonds. But so you're not stuck into, and this was sent out to y'all. There's an analysis, and I would encourage y'all to look at this analysis. It's a 2-page analysis. It explains all this, and it shows you what your increase in debt service would be. But to save the $11 million, you would only pay an additional $50,000 a year over the life of those bonds. So if $50,000 a year is too much for the drainage district, then you can say, well, what if we can put away an extra $25,000 a year? And we might make the bonds 27-year bonds or 28-year bonds.
Thank you, sir. Parish President.
Going to be my next, I wanted him to explain that to you too, that
Yeah.
The less number of years, just like if you go do it, the more you're going to pay. But $50,000 to save $11 million is a pretty good deal, and I think that they can, right now, that it can afford it. So, that would be the way I would go, and I would get this ball moving on that track as quickly as possible. And the other decision that needs to be made, I think, needs to be made by the Drainage Board, whether they want to pay their bonds off or not. So that's where we're at.
And like as President Martin has indicated, when we get closer to y'all, we have to come back to you. I think it's in April April, May, some time frame, and we'll have harder numbers for you, and we can show you real-life analysis, and we can model it a lot better for you and tell you, and let you all make that decision.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I, you know, as 10 of the 11 of us serve on this particular board, and Mr. Joseph has, and Mr. Shakespeare have their own set of circumstances on the other side of the river. I think that everybody's kind of looking at down the road, pay off some future debt. And that would be the thing we'd want to do.
Of the West Ascension Gravity Drainage District, your project was approved by the bond commission today without comment unanimously. There was no problem.
Okay.
And the election too, both the election and the loan.
Thanks for the update.
Mr. Shakespeare, you had a
Yeah,
comment?
and I appreciate, this is something that we had asked for, because I always believe in trying to pay things off as quickly as possible. However, it's also run to a point where you're dealing with inflation, and we're talking about 1% to 2% money, and you get to the point where people are giving you money for a certain period of time with inflation. So that $11 million 25 years from now might not be worth, it might be worth it to have the money now and pay it off then.
Right.
So that's what I would like to find out, is what the real value of the money is, whether it's worth it taking the money now, how much is worth it. So,
And Councilman Shakespeare,
And we're
what
gonna take
you're really
y'all-
asking me is what's the net present value of the 11 million? And you're right in that the only way that I could calculate that would be that if I could project the inflation
future.
rate
The future.
over the next 25 years. And-
well, it's simply, we're going to take y'all advice on that, but I just want to make sure we take all of those factors into account, because there's more than one variable, and that's why y'all get paid the big bucks, so y'all can recommend.
I'll tell you, my personal recommendation is I believe you are going to be in a rising interest rate environment long-term. I think there's no other way around that. Maybe not this year. I think you're going to start seeing interest rates rise this year, probably, everyone's saying June, September. I think rising interest rates are a thing that are coming, and I think they're going to be with us for a long time. So in that scenario, your best financial option is to lock in low rates, pay off as much as you can. And my recommendation, if it were my choice, my recommendation to you all would be, but I'm not taking budgetary constraints into consideration. My choice would be to pay off your small bonds, simply pay them off, and shorten the maturity to 25 years if you can live with the additional $50,000 a year, because with inflation, there's also going to come more sales taxes to the district.
Okay.
So that seems to me, you're talking $11 million in savings. I've been doing this, Kent, for Mr. Shakespeare, Councilman Shakespeare, for 15 years, and I don't recall ever getting close to $11 million in savings on something like this.
That's good. We appreciate it.
I had-
Information.
Mr. President,
The $2 million bond issue that you're gonna pay off, what are we paying a year on that?
1 second.
If I recall, it was,
Not much. About 740 a year.
740,000. Okay, so
That makes up the
once you
difference
get
that
rid of
you
that,
pay.
you're still gonna realize, if you pay 50, you're gonna still realize a $690,000 a year savings if you're looking at, if we were to continue paying that, even though we were gonna pay it off, but you're still $690 ahead starting next year if you do that. So that's kind of the way that I would look at that, and that's the way I would approach this.
Sounds like a good idea. Thanks.
yeah, and Jim, my strategy, we talked 7 years ago, and I don't want my great-grandchildren paying this bill. But I want to let everybody know that we've got a lot of projects in front of us, and we're $58 million out, no matter if we pay it off in 20, 25, 26, 27 years. And so we probably want to get the best deal we can right now, but we don't want to deplete our balance fund, because that we have a healthy one, because we got some projects out there that we're going to do that we don't have a solid budget behind them right now. We don't know the exact costs. And so just word to the future. Thank you. Any more comment?
It would take you, Chairman, Kluwak, about $2.1 million out of your fund balance to pay off the '05 bonds, to simply get rid of them.
You know I'm good with that.
Yeah. And so,
Personally.
if you did that, as President Martinez indicated, Martinez, I said Martinez. I stuttered there. So you give up 2.1 million in your fund balance now. Your debt service goes down by $800,000 a year for the next 4 years.
Mhm.
So your debt service goes down by $3.2 million
I'm great with that.
over the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer on that one. I'm talking about the big one.
I agree with you.
It's kind of like one of them stock deals.
All right. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Parish President,
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Dugas, Mr. Ryan, and Mr. Lambert. We'll move on to agenda item number 11. We're going to planning and zoning recommendations. Agenda item number 11, zone review ID 2490.15 to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map to medium intensity residential, from medium intensity residential to mixed use, located on the south side of LA 42, approximately 600 feet east of Manchac Point. All right. We'll go down to the introduction of ordinances. Agenda item number 12, introduction of ordinance to declare surplus and authorize the sale and/or transfer of miscellaneous office furniture. We need a motion to introduce. We have a motion introduced by Mr.
Second.
Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Sadler. In discussion, any opposition? Yeah. Agenda item number 13, introduction of ordinance, budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2015 budget. Motion introduced.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Cazzo, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. We'll move down to the public hearing ordinances. Agenda item number 14, reading of ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 13, occupational license, taxes and regulations, Article 1 in general, Section 13-7, filming, recording permit.
Yes, there was a typo on page 3 where we refer to city streets but parish streets, so I'm going to correct those typos as I read it to make sure we say parish. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has an interest in health, safety, and welfare for its citizens. Whereas the Parish of Ascension wishes to establish guidelines for film recording permit. Now therefore be it ordained by the Parish of Ascension, acting as legislative authority of the Parish of Ascension by adding Section 1317 film recording permit, Section 1713 film recording permit. Any person wishing to film, record, video, or capture images or sounds in any manner for distribution or broadcast through television, film, or internet within the parish and affecting any parish street, sidewalk, or other parish public property shall apply for a permit to the parish administration and pay the application fee not less than 30 days prior to the start of the filming. The permit shall require the following: the name of the production company, the phone number of the production company, the email address of the production company, physical address of the production company, name of location manager, including phone number, local address, and email, name of producer, including phone number and email, type of production, cast size, crew, special production notes. Prior to issuance of the permit, the applicant help further schedule and meet with the representative of the parish administration, of public works, parish attorney, the applicant police department, and fire department to determine the needs and impact of the filming. Provide proof of general liability insurance with a minimum of $1 million in coverage. Name Ascension Parish of Ascension as additional insured. Execute a contract and/or location agreement with the parish. Provide both daily and weekly shooting schedules which detail site prep, shooting, and striking the set. Notify the residents and businesses in the neighborhood of desired filming locations and upon request obtain written permission from affected businesses and owners. Hire police officers for traffic and crowd control. The applicable police department must be used for security, and any additional outside security must coordinate with the assigned applicable police department detail officers. The applicable police department will determine the number of officers necessary for the requested filming activity. Provide a detailed parking plan for all crew, personnel, vehicles, and production. Provide a detailed traffic plan, a flow plan to be used during filming and setup. Provide a proof of an agreement of approved plan with the applicable fire department when use of combustibles during filming activity. Pay in full associated fees as set forth below. Upon issuance of the permit, the Public Works will provide traffic control devices for all approved street closures. The following fee schedule shall apply: application fee $150, daily impact fee $200 to $600. For low impact filming, $200 per day, no discernible interruption of pedestrian traffic, including sidewalks. The administration of intermittent traffic controls in which vehicular traffic is held no more than 2 or 3 minutes. Minimal impact on normal business or residential activities. Limited parking on parish streets of no more than 4 blocks. Medium impact filming, $400 per day. Use of simulated gunfire. The administration of street closures for 1 or 3 film working days on location. Film activity conducted over nighttime hours. Limited parking permitted on parish streets no more than 8 blocks. High impact filming, $600 per day. Film activity that exceeds more than 5 continuous film working days in one location. High-speed car chases or crashes. Use of pyrotechnics or explosives. Use of low-flying aircraft. Activity which interrupts pedestrian traffic or restricts access to residential and business activity. Activity that requires bus or transit reroute planning. Limited permit parking on streets of no more than 12 blocks. Personnel, see the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office or Gonzales Police Department for rates. Parish site representatives, $35 hourly plus 10% administration, $70 hourly for parish holidays. Parish site engineer, $35 an hour, $70 for parish holidays. Parish attorney, $150 hourly for application and contract review and negotiation. Location fees. Donaldsonville Courthouse and affiliated structures, $300 hourly. Parish parks, $200 hourly, plus any existing park rental use fees. Lamar Dish and Expo Center to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. Governmental buildings, $200 hourly. Any other properties owned by the parish, $200 hourly. 6, parish administration, parking rental, $3 hourly per parking space. Road closure fees. Residential neighborhood, 200 first 4 hours and $50 hourly. Municipal, see the City of Gonzales, Town of Sorrento, or City of Donaldsonville for fees. Park recreation area, 200 first 4 hours and $50 hourly. Parking base camp fees, Lamar Dixon to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. State Fairgrounds West, full lot, $1,000 per day, half lot, $500 per day. All other off-street parking on parish property, cost to be determined by parish administration, not less to be $7 per vehicle per day and $100 per tractor trailers. 18-wheeler parking, $75 hourly rate vehicle. Signs, no parking, $3 each. Personnel minimums, all personnel fees are minimum 4 hours. Personnel fee will be charged as a full hour after 15 minutes into the next hour. Nothing herein shall be applied to local and national television news media. Parish president, for good reason, may allow an applicant to apply for a permit less than 30 days prior to filming, but may not for any reason waive any of the provisions of the requirement of this section. Any filming activity that's not been disclosed and approved by the parish as provided in paragraphs A, B, and C of this section shall only be allowed at the discretion of the parish president and the applicable police force. The parish specifically reserves the right to revoke the original permit in its entirety and deny any further filming upon discovery of any excess or unpermitted filming. Should the parish in its discretion allow further filming to the place, all the provisions of A, B, and C shall be met within 24 hours of filming activity, and fees set forth in paragraph D2 shall be tripled. The issuance of permit shall not create an obligation on behalf of the parish to third parties engaged by permit holder, and the parish shall in no way be obligated to resolve disputes between permit holder and any third party. In the event any portion of this ordinance ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions, should not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance have been submitted to a vote. The vote was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
We have a motion to open public hearing by Mr. Malonson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing by Mr. Malonson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Move the ordinance.
We have a motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Brian Malonson,
Second.
second by Mr. Chris Lohr. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move to agenda item number 17, reading of an ordinance to create an advisory committee designated as the Ascension Parish Film Commission, naming its members and designating functions.
Again, the parish president asked that I add, or his designee by parish president, so I'm going to
Yes.
read that into it. Create an advisory committee designated Ascension Parish Film Commission, naming its members and designating functions. Louisiana provides extensive benefits to the film industry to develop projects in Louisiana. Whereas Ascension Parish has unique architectural, historical, and cultural benefits to the film industry. Whereas Ascension Parish Council realizes the economic benefits exist for local business and film industry, but do not come about by accident for the benefit of cooperative efforts of business, community, state, local governments in any manner which will have an impact on the citizens of Ascension Parish. Whereas Ascension Parish Council desired to create an advisory film commission to assist in capturing fair market share of the film industry for Louisiana for Ascension Parish and to advise the councils on matters thereto. Be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Council in lawful session hereby establishes the Ascension Parish Film Commission. The commission shall consist of 5 members: the Ascension Parish President or his designee, the Director of the Ascension Parish Tourist Commission, the President of the Ascension Parish Economic Development Corporation, Director of the Donaldsonville Development District, the Chairman of the Gonzales Tourist Commission. Be Be it further ordained that the Film Commission shall partner with the business community, state and local governments to promote film industry projects and business opportunities in Ascension Parish. Be it further ordained that the Film Commission to work to attract film industry products for Ascension Parish and shall make its recommendations to the parish council. Be it further ordained, the Film Commission shall elect a chairman from its members and serve the pleasure of the commission. And if any portion of this ordinance ever held invalid, unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions shall not effectively the remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public comment.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Sadler, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Motion to close.
Motion to close public hearing by Mr. Doc Sadler. Second by Mr. Brian Malonson. We have a motion. Motion to move the ordinance by Mr.
Second.
Brian Malonson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Parish President, more on this.
I just want to thank the people that worked with us on this. We've been talking on and off for about 3 years, and Mrs. Joanda with Downtown Development, Downsonville District, and Miss Browning, Tracy Browning with the Tourist Commission, and of course Mike Eads. It all felt like it was something that was needed here, and I agree with them, and it's something that we should have did years ago. Hopefully, if the tax breaks continue and stay in state government, well, it may become something that's very lucrative here. We've had in the past several films that were shot here recently, Bonnie and Clyde, and of course over the years we had several, and we have some beautiful locations here, and we'll utilize our television crew, and we'll out and pick out spots and put together some pieces, and we can send them to different studios in California or wherever we need to send them. And I think we have a really good commission here with the people that's on there, and certainly if you wanted to expand it, put more people on it, it's an advisory committee only, but it would be fine with me. But those are the people that we kind of thought that would be instrumental in doing it, and taking it from here.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Before we move on to agenda item number 20, I just want to recognize the due diligence of the Boy Scouts in the house, and all the parents that are behind them. Thank you very much for your leadership to the young folks. And Scouts, I hope you're at least getting a merit badge for sitting through this meeting. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 20.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
We have a
Chairman.
motion by Mr. Todd Lambert to adjourn. Second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? With that, we are adjourned.